Well, good morning, everyone. Good morning. Welcome to Planner in the Press. I'm your host, Phil Hartwell, Vice President of the Bridal Society. And this morning, my special guest is Sam Nelson from EVL Events. Good morning, Sam.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing great this morning. So great to see you this morning. I know that it's getting close to holiday Christmas time and everyone's ready for that. And I appreciate you taking the time to talk with me this morning about your company. Tell me a little bit about EVL Events and what part of the country you're in, what kind of services you provide.
Yeah, so I am located in Western New York, upstate New York, Western New York, depends on where you live in New York to classify that. So most of my area is around Buffalo, Rochester, and I live in a little ski town called Ellicottville, New York, which is about an hour south of Buffalo. So I handle all of those areas. I primarily focus on wedding planning. We do some small events, but wedding planning is my niche, and we do everything from full service planning down to wedding day management. But we really like to be very involved and help with the design and bring all of those great, beautiful elements together. So we really push towards more of the full planning aspect.
Okay. That's great. So you're in the Buffalo area. I can imagine it's the weather has turned. It's getting colder. But just before we went on this interview, you were saying that it's actually unseasonably warm this year. Has that affected the wedding so far? Have you had any outdoor weddings in this last couple of months?
I have not this month, but a couple of my coworkers, my colleagues have had weddings, and last weekend it was beautiful out, but it was a crazy windy, but it was like 55 degrees in December. Like you can't get any better than that temperature wise. And today it's 55 degrees. There's a little bit of wind, but I will take the wind over 3 feet of snow any day. I'm a bad New Yorker.
I can imagine. That's awesome. That's awesome. So what was it that got you interested in the whole field of wedding planning? What got you thinking about being a wedding planner in the first place?
Yeah. So in 2013, my husband and I got engaged and we started planning our own wedding. And I feel like this is so cliche because so many planners say this, but it's the truth. I started planning my wedding and I had the most amazing time doing it. We had a very non-traditional wedding. We had a themed wedding and it was an 80s themed wedding. My husband's only request for the wedding was he did not want to wear a suit and tie because he was a lawyer and every day he had to wake up and put a suit and tie on, and he did not want to do that for a wedding. So easy fix. We are both heavily obsessed with the 80s, so we wanted to just go very untraditional, and we took this wedding to a whole nother level and it was incredible. And we planned it in 3 months because we're crazy and we just like to get things done right away. And I'm crazy and I work so great under chaos and pressure and I thrive on it. And I just loved every bit of it. So after the wedding, everybody gets a little bit of the wedding planning blues when it's gone and there's nothing left to do. And, a couple of my friends had asked me to help them plan some stuff and plan a couple of weddings. And then an old colleague of my husband, her daughter was getting married. And my husband was like, well, Sam can plan the wedding. It's fine. And I was like, okay, my first stranger wedding. And I did it. And the venue was like, you know what? You are so incredible at this. You should do this. This should be your job. You're so good. And I was like, okay, I got to make this work. I got to figure it out. And at the time I was working a corporate job. I was making tons of money. I had great benefits. And, you get that fear of like, well, how do I leave all that behind? I don't have time to do both. And my husband convinced me to just pursue my passion. And, you know, I did. And I did that 5 years ago, and I have never looked back. And it's
Oh,
been the most incredible journey of my entire life. And
I
I,
love to hear that. I wish I knew that you had an 80s wedding. Before we started this interview, I would have asked for a picture. I can imagine. Did you
oh
have the
my
whole
God.
80s hair going on too?
I didn't. I had like a little bun in the back, but I had like little subtle crimps in it. And our guests did come in costume though. So we had Rick
Oh,
James there, we had Teen Wolf there, we had Back to the Future,
I
lots of
love
shoulder pads. And it was
it.
actually featured on Pop Sugar. So that was really
I love
exciting.
that.
But
I
yeah.
love that. So that was a great experience for you on a personal level and making that all come together, and it kind of came naturally to you. Then your husband said, "Hey, you should do this." Your friend said you should do this, but then I can imagine you probably said, "You know what? I think I need to get some training on this," and
Yeah.
that's how you ran across the Bridal Society. Tell me a little bit about that and how that worked out for you.
Yeah. So um when I wanted to do this, I wanted to do it right. I didn't want to just be somebody who does a set aside job, who brings their like parents along. I wanted this to, if I was going to go in, I was going to go all in. And I really wanted to get as much learning under my belt as possible and as much knowledge so I could go in there like confident that I knew what I was doing, that I could do this job to 1,000% to the best of my ability. So when it was coming time to like figure out my training and everything, I had heard so many great things about the Bridal Society, and I did a little bit of research, and it ended up being a no-brainer. So I decided to get certified through the Bridal Society, and I loved it so much that I moved forward like 6 months later and did my design certification, which I really loved doing that. And then last year I did my master certification.
That is so great. So it sounds to me like you love to learn and you love
I
to make
do.
sure you're, yeah, on the cutting edge of information.
Yeah, I'm waiting for the next one. We got to come up with something else for me.
Well, we're always trying to stay
No
on top
pressure.
of it. Absolutely, right, no pressure. Well, actually, and I'm sure that you've taken advantage of the free wedding planner workshops that are available
Yeah.
through our member portal as well. As you know, our co-instructor Chrissy Thomas does those, and we go into a little more detail on several different topics having to do with the wedding industry. You know, one, for example, she does, I know, on initial consultations. You know, I know that a lot of planners are nervous about that first time they sit down with a couple, and what do I say? How do I not come across too pushy? You know, how do I get across my value without sounding pushy?
Right. Or
You know, and how do
salesy.
I not undervalue myself? All of that. So I'm sure you've taken advantage of that free workshop as well. So yeah, we're always trying to come up with whatever we can to help support wedding planners, because I know that it's a tough job. I'm sure that you've felt a lot of pressure, especially in these times with rescheduling. Have you been dealing with rescheduling a lot of your events?
Oh yeah. I mean, 2020 was a year like no other. We had so many weddings on the books, and so many got pushed to 2021, and we were pretty full already for 2021. So this year was it was amazing, and I loved every second, but it was hard. It was really hard to juggle everything that was on our plates. But a lot of positive came out of it. It pushed me forward to hire my first full-time planner, to bring her on staff, who is officially certified through the Bridal Society as of last month. So
Awesome.
very proud of her on that. And yeah, it's just I think the best thing about, for me currently with the Bridal Society, is the support. So, being a part of that Facebook group and being able to go to this great community of people who have had experience and things that I might not have, or that are going through the same things that we are, and being able to just reach out and just get some advice, or, ask questions, that to me is priceless. It's,
Mm.
I think, better than any certification I could have or anything like that, is to have this amazing community.
Yeah, I'm glad that you see that. We, of course, the education is important and
For
having that
sure.
foundation of knowing, business practices and that kind of thing. But we really do love to support our members in any way we can. And as you know, we have thousands and thousands of members all across the country. And I'm not sure if many people realize this, but membership in the Bridal Society, once you've gone through our certification, is actually included in that one-time certification fee. So there are no monthly or yearly dues, which I think really helps keep people involved and connected with us. So I'm glad you're
Great.
taking advantage of all those free
Yeah.
benefits. So
Yeah.
tell me, what's one of your favorite things about being a master certified wedding planner?
I mean, it's nice to have the title, I'm not gonna lie. But I don't know. I just feel like that extra little boost of education that I got, the tidbits on like refining my business, really
Mm,
helped me take my business to the next level. I always had a vision on where I wanted to be with my business, the type of client I wanted to reach, and doing this certification really got me there.
mm.
And it helped me revamp a lot of my offerings that I gave to clients, the packages that I gave to them, my collateral that I had, my website, how I ran my business, and things like that. So I think that, like I said, took me to the next level on where I wanted to be. And I had a 5-year plan, and I was able to get there prior to the 5 years. So
Well, you're ahead of schedule then. That's
yeah.
great. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I gotta
love
see
I
what my
love having
10-year plan is now.
I love that. That's so great. So I'm glad you were able to use some of the concepts that we talked about in not only the main wedding planning certification, but then the master certification. I know that Lori goes into just so much more detail in so many aspects of business during that master program. And there are assignments that you have to turn in, and she goes over those assignments with you and kind of
Yeah.
works with you to tweak that to
And I
really
actually
work.
loved that part of it, because it really holds you accountable, and
Mm,
somebody's taking the thought and the time to ensure that you're like doing what you're supposed to be doing, that you're not just taking the certification to get your credit, you're doing it to improve your business. And I love that Lori spends time with each and every single person going through this, and talking through it. And it's not just like, oh, you passed. She actually goes through and is like, okay, these are some things that I love that maybe you could have work on. And to
mm.
me, that was amazing. I didn't even expect that, and I love that.
Oh, I'm so glad you found that helpful. And we really do try to keep it personal to you as well.
Yeah,
And the things that you're dealing with in Buffalo there in the greater New York area are different than the things people deal with in Florida or
sure.
Texas or California. So it really is different from region to region, the way that weddings are, the time that wedding season is even, right?
Mhm.
And all of the many details that go into weddings in the different regions. So we like to keep that in mind as well. So I'm so glad. So tell me something. I love to hear a good story about how you, being a well-trained master certified wedding planner, really came in handy for one of your couples. Is there a time when you maybe saved the day and kept some tragedy from happening, and maybe the
Yeah.
couple never even found out about it?
Oh my gosh, there's been so many.
How do you
Um,
narrow it down, right?
I know. And none, I mean, they haven't all been like huge tragic things or anything, but it's really funny that when I talk to people who don't hire a wedding planner, they're like, gosh, I really wish I had somebody who would have handled all this stuff, so I didn't know every little bad thing that went wrong.
Mm,
Um, but I would say this year, we ran into a lot of issues because of a lot of staff changes at venues. And,
mm,
being understaffed, either staff leaving, relocating, whatever the case may be. And in a particular case, the venue coordinator had quit the day before my client's wedding. So when we walked in, everything was completely wrong. So thankfully, you know, we have been at every details meeting. We are super organized. We get every little possible thing that we can from our clients. So God forbid if I can't be there or their lead planner can't be there or something happens, they can pick up our paperwork and be like, okay, this is how this needs to be laid out. This is what they want on the table. This is what their expectations are. And we had to do just that. We had to redo the entire layout of the room. We had to reset every single table for 200 guests. And, you know, we had to inform the venue staff of what the client's expectations were. And it ended up going super smooth. And, you know, the client was as happy as can be. And I think we prevented like a huge disaster and disappointment for our client.
Imagine how that day would have gone if there weren't an independent wedding planner there to kind of handle it. I don't think that couples really understand until their wedding day, which of course on the wedding day, it's too late to go back and hire an independent person to help you. So on that day, it's too late, but I don't think people understand until after the wedding. In fact, there was a survey that we saw that 98% of people who did not hire a wedding planner wish they did, right?
Yeah.
After the fact. So, but as you know, unfortunately, it's too late. So what would your advice be to any wedding couple who's planning a wedding now, even though you originally planned your 80s wedding by yourself, if you had to go back, what
Oh my
would you
gosh,
have done?
it would have saved me so much time and so much stress. I mean, the day of my wedding, I was finalizing details. Like the day of your wedding, you should be relaxed and at ease and like focusing on yourself and like getting all of your nerves worked out and getting yourself beautiful and just getting ready for the biggest day of your life. You shouldn't have to worry about setting up tables, having the florist call you, having the venue call you, having the transportation people call you. And your family and friends shouldn't have to do that either. They're guests at your wedding. They're here to celebrate you, not work. And I mean, if I could have gone back 8 years ago, I would have had somebody by my side for sure. And, you know, I always joke that Buffalo is so behind times, but we are. So like wedding planners really haven't been a thing here until probably the last 6 to 8 years, you know, and now it's more of a commonality. So, you know, if my wedding were to happen now, it'd be a no-brainer. Like, oh yeah, well, I need to have a planner for this. Or back then, I didn't even know of a wedding planner or an event coordinator. So it's definitely different. And I probably put my family through chaos, but they love me and I appreciate them and I'm so thankful for them. But I would definitely for sure.
Yeah, good. So hindsight is, of course, always 2020. But yeah, we're seeing that trend actually nationwide too. Is more and more people are recognizing the need for someone to help them, at least for the month of the wedding. Of course, I'm sure you have packages that will help someone if they've already done a lot of the planning, but then they want somebody there on the day of to help. And it's not a day of package. I'm sure you start working with them about a month before, typically planners do. And just to help them tie all those loose ends together and be that neutral party, be that neutral person who's not a family member, who's not an aunt or an uncle or a mom or a sister. Just let all that family enjoy it. Like you said, I love that. And then enjoy the day. So how can folks get a hold of you, Sam, if they're in your area? And tell me, do you travel as well? If someone is maybe down in the city and wants to do a wedding, will you travel down there too?
Yeah, absolutely. And if you want me to go to like the Bahamas or anywhere like that, totally open for that.
Especially in December or January,
Exactly.
right?
Yeah. Call me in February. I'll be down there. But yeah, if people want to get in touch with me, we have our website, evlevents.com. We have a great social media presence on Instagram. We're at EVL Events, and same thing with Facebook at EVL Events as well. Starting to get our hands into TikTok a little bit. I'm, trying to get more in the hip times. I feel like my planner told me yesterday, she felt like she was talking to her grandma, teaching her how to use her phone. When I asked her a question about TikTok, I was so embarrassed. I'm like, oh my gosh. Like, sorry.
Well, you know what? Soon TikTok will be like, remember when MySpace came
Yeah,
out and then
exactly.
MySpace was so
Exactly.
passe, so immediately Facebook, and now Facebook even. We talked to our 20-something daughter and she says, oh, Facebook,
Oh,
that's
Facebook's
old.
for old people. Yeah.
That tells you how old we are. But you know what?
Exactly.
We're young at heart. All of us are young at heart.
Exactly.
And we are more than happy to help anyone I'm sure you're happy to help anyone at any age who's taken that plunge. It's definitely something you don't want to do alone. So give Sam a call over at EVL Events. And if you're interested in becoming a certified wedding planner, please check out the bridalsociety.com. We're happy to welcome you to the family, just like Samantha is part of our family now. And it's been so nice to talk to you this morning, Samantha.
Nice talking to you as well.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for joining me. And everyone have a great day. Make it a great one. Thanks so much.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye now.